They said a 78-year-old man couldn't handle the job. They said he'd need naps in short days. Well, President Trump just shattered that narrative with a 3-hour, 17-minute cabinet meeting completely open to the press. No breaks, no bathroom runs, just raw, unfiltered governance, while his critics can barely make it through a 20-minute press conference. But what happened inside that marathon session will reshape America's future. A surprise military rebrand that has the Pentagon brass sweating or maybe cheering. Job numbers that prove that the swamp is draining, and a Federal Reserve showdown that's about to explode into the biggest constitutional crisis since Watergate. The stamina display was just the opening act, so stay tuned. And while Trump's cabinet delivered bombshells for over 3 hours straight, you've got to ask yourself what happens when the real storms hit, when supply chains collapse and shelves go empty. That's why I trust My Patriot Supply. The 3-month emergency food kit saves you $100 right now, but supplies won't last. You get 2,000 plus calories daily for 90 days. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, snacks, all in sturdy buckets that last 25 years. Made in the United States. No MSG, no junk. Just like America, just like Trump's preparing America for strength. Prepare your family for survival. Fast, free shipping, 30-day returns, disaster replacement guarantee. When government fails, your family still eats. Go to preparewithgary.com. That's preparewithgary.com. Be the hero that your family needs. It is linked down below. There is a lot to unpack from this marathon meeting. It is just so much going on. We'll jump right to the end, shall we? Here it is, President Trump concluding the meeting.
I want to just thank, this is the greatest, this has never been done before. First of all, a cabinet meeting was sacred. You'd never let the fake news media in. But the fake news media isn't all fake. It's, a lot of it is, but it's not all. I think it's a great thing. I think maybe it's going to be done in the future. I hope it's going to be done. But you really get the word out. I mean, we had, each one of these people spoke. I think each one, if I thought one of them did badly, I would call that person out. I would say, Christy, what the heck are you doing? No, but no, seriously, you have a very talented group of people. They get along, they work along together. And there's something really nice about just, the openness of what we're doing. It's government. It's an open government. That's what we are. I want to just thank, this is the
open government. Now, we're going to go and track to the beginning at the cabinet meeting. SBA Kelly highlights the wins for the working people made possible by President Trump's tax cuts.
In American history for
Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, everyone knows there's no stronger advocate for hardworking American families than you, sir. Thank you for the largest tax cut in American history for working families. The average family of 4 is going to save about $10,000 take-home pay more a year. And what we're seeing is an increase in the child tax credit, the increase in the standard deduction. Hardworking families are going to benefit from this bill, and small businesses. There's no bigger beneficiary than Main Street, because small business makes up 99% of all businesses in this country. I've traveled to nearly half of our states, 24 unique states. I've made 40 state visits. In fact, I was with our great vice president at a small business manufacturer in Georgia last week. I was with a trucking company in Ohio. I was in Michigan at a motorcycle manufacturer. The return of Made in America is going to be driven by small businesses, because 98% of all of our manufacturers in America are small and medium businesses, 600,000 factories that employ 5 million people. And as Secretary McMahon mentioned, this work-based learning that is going on in professional and trade schools is real. I've visited them from Utah to Maine to Georgia and seen this revolution in education happening. So small businesses need skilled labor. Now that you solve for inflation, for the taxes, every Democrat voted for a $4 trillion tax increase on the backs of hardworking Americans. And so you prevented that. And now we've got fair trade. And thanks to Administrator Zeldin, we're seeing deregulation. I mean, this diesel exhaust fluid crushed farmers and construction and other heavy industry. So rolling that back makes a real difference for small business. And your domestic economic agenda is amplified through small businesses, which is why small business optimism is above its 53-year average, finally.
So, are you a small business owner? Well, then you have a beautiful and bright future. A big, beautiful, bright future ahead of you. Stephen Chung, he posts about 4 hours ago, CNN refused to show Trump's cabinet meeting today where he praised American workers. Maybe that's why CNN's ratings are always in the toilet. Total viewers. Look at that. Those are the numbers. Nobody watches CNN at all. Continuing with the breakdown of that amazing marathon session, here is D&I Gabbard talking about the weaponization. You know, she's at the forefront of uncovering that and exposing it and declassifying so much information that has the swamp rats sweating.
Interests of the American, sir, as we approach Labor Day weekend here, this is just such a great opportunity really to recognize your leadership as a true champion for working people. And I know we'll hear as we go around the table here how your focus singularly on putting the well-being and interests of the American people first is that common thread that we're seeing in your policies being implemented across your administration. For ODNI, number one, our focus is and must always be making sure that our intelligence community is focused on our mission, keeping the American people safe, secure, and free. We're doing great work on this front. I'll point out our National Counterterrorism Center, led by Director Joe Kent, are working across different agencies with Homeland Security, DEA, FBI, and others to catch terrorists, both those who are trying to come into our country, those who may already be in our country. They are finding the worst of the cartel bosses and making sure that they're not able to continue to wreak havoc and terror in our communities. Secondly, Mr. President, you have charged me with the mission of finding the truth and telling the truth to the American people. And we've exposed some of the worst examples of the weaponization of intelligence in the last several weeks. I will continue down that mission and that path wherever it leads. Transparency, telling the truth, is what will drive true accountability for the American people who deserve nothing less. And lastly, Mr. President, all of us are charged with being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I've gone through a reorganization for ODNI that we've announced in the last week. We've cut nearly half of redundant, unnecessary functions within ODNI, saving taxpayers over $700 million a year. We will continue focusing on our core mission in keeping the American people safe, and appreciate your leadership and your focus on this most critical task. Sir.
That's called draining the swamp. From the intelligence side, all of those deep state actors, $700 million worth, gone. Let's check in with the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, talking about some deregulation that's going on, probably going to echo some of the Small Business Administration remarks we heard just a moment ago.
Your mix. Mr. President, the Trump EPA has a special Labor Day message to America's workforce, especially our auto workers, our coal miners, our steam fitters, our pipe fitters, and the list goes on. See what a difference a year makes. A year ago, the way that the Environmental Protection Agency was operating, the choice was made to protect the environment. We would have to strangulate the economy. That's the way that the EPA operated for years. There was a binary choice. We had to choose one or the other. The Trump EPA completely rejects that. See, we choose to protect the environment and grow the economy. And a very special shout out to Russ Vogt and his team at the Office of Management and Budget. We give him a lot of work. He's happy to do it. Dozens of different deregulatory actions. We just announced a proposed rescission of the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding, all of the light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicle regulations that followed. It is the single largest deregulatory action in the history of the United States government. And when you add up the dozens of different actions that we have announced and that we're working through, in one agency in 1 year, we'll do more deregulation than entire federal governments have done across all agencies, across entire presidencies. And what we are accomplishing would not be possible if not for the support of the rest of this team you've assembled around this table. The well-oiled, well-wired machine at the White House, led by Susie Wiles, and the DCOSP, the policy shop, led by Stephen Miller, they have been amazing to work with. I was just in Iowa with Administrator Loeffler, who made an announcement with Secretary Rollins to reverse the deratement on diesel exhaust fluid systems. Mr. President, you said you wanted water flowing faster. Working with the Secretary of Energy, we've done our part to do that, to get gas cans flowing faster, to stop that annoying start-stop feature in vehicles. See, people out there might say, well, why are you focused on all of these little things? If it's little to you, it doesn't mean that it's not a very big deal for millions of other Americans. The charge was clear when you called me in November and you asked me to do this job. Clean air, land, and water for all Americans. Unleash energy dominance. Advance cooperative federalism, permitting reform, make America the AI capital of the world, bring back American auto jobs. What we are accomplishing now, again, wouldn't be possible if not for your leadership. I'm grateful to the American people for electing.
Lee Zeldin laying it out. That's what happens when you take the chains off of the American people. And that's what we've witnessed with so much regulation, stifling small business. Even, like he said, it's the little things. It's the little things that add up. And that's what choke America. And President Trump, through his cabinet, are now unleashing American dominance. Let's check in with Secretary Kennedy, RFK Jr., talking about increasing FDA inspections and making sure Americans are not buying and eating contaminated shrimp, putting our shrimpers out of business.
On this cabinet meeting is supposed to be about working Americans and bringing jobs back to this country.
We got all kinds of shrimp.
And particularly rural America. And I want to mention the big, beautiful bill. Right now, we spend 7% of Medicaid dollars on rural hospitals. So they're getting the short end of the stick. It's about $19 billion a year. Under the Rural Transformation Program, we give them an extra $10 billion a year. So we're raising an infusion of cash to rural hospitals and rural communities by 50%. It's going to be the biggest infusion in history, and it's going to restore and revitalize these communities. And we can't survive as a nation if we don't honor our rural communities, which are the source of our values, our virtues, our character, our economy, our food. And you are bringing that back. You are bringing those communities back. I wanted to talk, because you mentioned the wind farms, we now have an interdepartmental coalition, a team, which is Doug Burgum and Howard Lutnick and Chris Wright and Pete Hegseth. We're all working on this issue. And Lee. We're all working together on this issue. We're meeting together. There are right now 11 wind farms planned that were launched during the Biden administration. Between Maine and Virginia, it's 1,130 towers. These towers are twice the size of the Washington Monument. The blades on them are...
They're massive. It's so crazy.
The blades are 350 feet long, one blade. One of these blades blew up on Nantucket last summer, and the water was filled with shards of glass, of sharp glass, so it's dangerous to swim. They had to close the beaches, but they have indemnified themselves so the local communities can't sue them. None of these projects are bonded. If you build an oil derrick in the Gulf, you got to put a bond down. There's no bond for dismantling them, and that's one of the tools that Doug is now using to challenge some of these projects. None of the cost of energy from these projects is 39 cents a kilowatt hour. The average cost in this country is 17 cents per kilowatt hour.
And natural gas is 3 cents.
Right. So it is the most expensive energy. I've been representing commercial fishermen for 40 years. They are so excited about what you're doing, Mr. President, because their fisheries are being wiped out. As soon as they begin construction, the groundfish fisheries just disappear. The fish leave the area. They've killed 160 whales in the last 2 years. So they're wiping out the whale population, the Atlantic whale population, the big whales, the minkies, the gray whale, or the humpback whales, the right whales. And you are going to save the whales on the East Coast because of this. And you're going to save these economies that are based upon commercial fishing. I'll say.
Did you hear that? Trump is going to save the whales. All right. Are they going to hate him for that too? President Trump said he's going to do this in the wind farms, and now the whales are going to be safe. Oh my God! All the liberals, he's disarming them all. I love it.
One other thing about fishing. We are now, the South Asian nations are now dumping shrimp on our country. Mm-hmm. The shrimp is heavily contaminated. We just stopped a shipment that was contaminated with cesium-157, which is radioactive. They're farming these shrimps, and they use bactericides and antibiotics and all kinds of chemicals, and the shrimp are so contaminated that the European nations won't take them, so they're dumping them all here, and they're putting out of business. We have the most sustainable, highly regulated fishery in the world.
You know, I just saw a recall on shrimp the other day. Radioactive shrimp that's actually hitting the store shelves. Yeah, it's thank God that they're stopping it, though. Oh, and the burn bags, getting the truth out about the 2020 election. It's happening, folks.
A reorganization, transparency, telling the truth.
This is DNI Tulsi Gabbard, American hero.
Is what will drive true accountability for the American people who deserve nothing less. And lastly, Mr. President, all of us are charged with being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I've gone through a reorganization for ODNI that we've announced in the most critical task.
And you've also found many bags of information. I think they call them burn bags. They're supposed to be burned and they didn't get burned, having to do with how corrupt the 2020 election was. And when will that all come out?
Mr. President, I will be the first to brief you once we have that information collected. But you're right, we are finding documents literally tucked away in the back of safes in random offices in these bags and in other areas, which again speaks to the intent of those who are trying to hide the truth from the American people and trying to cover up the politicization that was led by people like John Brennan and James Clapper and others that have caused really immeasurable harm to the American people and to our country.
Great job. Thank you. We look forward to hearing it.
Burn bags, baby. Burn bags. Let's see what else we got here. Tulsi Gabbard confirmed they found new documents pertaining to the 2020 election burn bags. Real America's Voice. Let's check in with Joe Hoft with Eric Bowling.
You know, for sure.
You've uncovered some new evidence. Tell us about it.
Well, it just keeps coming out, doesn't it, Eric? And it's making us all look a lot smarter every day. And truth tellers, you know, for sure. This afternoon, President Trump's administration meeting, he called out Tulsi Gabbard. She again's done an exceptional job. I think some of us are just so impressed with the entire cabinet, but Tulsi's been just fantastic. What he asked her at the end of her segment was he asked her about the 2020 election, that he goes, I've heard that you found some documents in those ready to destroy bags related to the 2020 election. And so she did confirm that, yeah, they found some stuff that relates to the election that's going to be shocking, and that it will be coming out soon, as soon as they, vet it and go through it all. But it sounds like there's been this area or this room where they found all these bags that were ready to be destroyed evidence, and in that they found all sorts of information. John Solomon's been on your show to talk about some of that stuff already, but now they're getting down to the 2020 election. What I'm hearing is the evidence that they have is just going to be absolutely shocking. People are going to be blown away, and to many of us who've been studying the 2020 election. As you know, Eric, I wrote 3 books about the 2020 election leading up to what happened, and then the cover-up, which was just as terrible as the election itself. And it's now not surprising that we're seeing more and more evidence. We just can't wait to see what they found. So
the cover-up was so bad you couldn't even talk about it on social media. We had videos deleted because we simply mentioned it. Let's find out about when we get to the Secretary of Defense. Good morning. Good Monday. President Trump on changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War.
What are we defense? Why anymore? And so, Pete, you started, because if they won, you wouldn't have a country anymore. And so, Pete, you started up by saying the Department of Defense. And somehow it didn't sound good to me. It didn't sound good. Defense, what are we defense? Why are we defense? So it used to be called the Department of War. And it had a stronger sound. And as you know, we won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything. Now we have a Department of Defense. We're defenders. I don't know. If you people want to, standing behind me, if you take a little vote, if you want to change it back to what it was when we used to win wars all the time, that's okay with me. All right?
That's coming
soon. You let me know if you want to do it. I think Department of War. It just sounded bad. He said, sir, on behalf of the Department of Defense. Defense. I don't want to be defense only. We want defense, but we want offense too, if that's okay. So you'll make a decision. But as Department of War, we won everything. We won everything. And I think we're
back-to-back World War champs, baby. That is America. Let's keep going. Speaking of the Secretary of Defense, here he is at the cabinet meeting just a few hours ago.
Sir, well, amen to what Howard said. And I would just say, heading into Labor Day from the American military, sir, we happen to be the largest employer in America. We like to think we have a different form of employees who need to be the toughest and the strongest and the most well-trained and the most lethal. And under the previous administration, and for decades, frankly, it was social justice, it was political correctness, it was divisive ideologies seeping into the ranks and changing how well we do our job. No more. Now it is only merit-based, gender-neutral, colorblind. The best of the best from the top to the bottom. That's our expectation. And sir, you've enabled that. So from the troops directly, which they ask me to say all the time, thank you for your leadership, for your boldness, for your clarity, for common sense, for providing a shield for the rest of us to put America first and to apply peace through strength. We're in the strength business. That's our job, is to stand behind everybody here and alongside John in everything they do to keep the country safe. And the world is noticing. And I wish everybody could. There were 2 meetings yesterday that I think tell the story. One was, because today happens to be the 4-year anniversary of what happened in Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Mr. President, you had the families in, who you've met with multiple times, who, when the cameras were on and not on, acknowledged, sir, you were the only one that gave them a proper greeting, that recognized what they gave their sons and daughters in the debacle that was the withdrawal in Afghanistan, that we will bring accountability for at the Defense Department through our investigation.
That's good.
But at the same time, the world sadly took notice. Whether it was Israel, whether it was Ukraine, those wars never would have started if you were president. Instead, they looked at the foolishness of Joe Biden. Under your military, your Pentagon, we are restoring deterrence. Whether it's Midnight Hammer and those beautiful B-2s, 37 hours straight, whether it's counter-drug operations in our own hemisphere, whether it's the border, working with Christie.
Now, that was a reference to what's going on off the coast of Venezuela right now, which we are currently tracking. The destroyers off the coast, and of course, Maduro activating supposedly 4.5 million militia in the event that the United States goes in to take him out. To get that bounty is $50 million on his head.
And the national security team, whether it's LA, whether it's Washington, D.C., you name it, whether it's Europe, our allies paying 5%, now our allies in the Indo-Pacific stepping up to do the same. That's a recognition that American leadership is here. And then in the second meeting, we were talking about what we're doing in D.C. and Pam's taking the lead. I have to say, just pause for a second. When I look around this table, yes, there's a national security team of Steve Witkoff and John and Scott and Howard and the vice president and Susie and Christy and Tulsi, but to every person here, we work together on a daily basis. And if you call me and I call you, the answer is yes. How do we do it together? I think that's exceptional. It's what the American people deserve, and you've demanded that, sir. So I very much appreciate it. In that meeting on D.C., I started my sentence by saying, the Department of Defense.
Here we go.
To which you said, that just doesn't sound right. So maybe next time we're here, my card will read Department of War. We'll see. But it's not, here's the thing, here's what people miss. It's not just about words. It's about the warrior ethos. It's about what the department is supposed to do. George Washington started the Department of War because he wanted us to win our wars. Our founders didn't want endless foreign entanglements. They didn't want endless contingencies and deployments. They wanted an empowered military that the handcuffs were taken off to fight to win and then bring those troops home. So my platoon in Guantanamo Bay, our motto was, those who long for peace must declare for war, and must prepare for war. We don't want war, we don't seek it. You are the peace president, sir. Because we are strong, our enemies know what we will do. And so whether it's Secretary of War or Secretary of Defense, that warrior ethos is changing. We're going back to basics. Our drill instructors can be drill instructors again, sir. So from the minute of the tactical of standards to the strategic of B-2 bombers, we're focused on what matters. Had a meeting yesterday on Golden Dome for America, which is on track to deliver strategically for the American people. Munitions, and the Deputy Secretary making sure our stockpiles are overflowing. That's our job. I'm an honor to be a part of it, sir. Thank you for your leadership. Sir,
yeah, baby. America is back. God, you gotta love looking at this stuff. What else have we got here? Here is let's check it with Pam Bondi.
That we're winning. President, I'm working with everyone around this table almost daily on legal issues that we're winning on. But today, because it's Labor Day, President Trump, if I could focus on public safety, not only domestic, but from our foreign adversaries. And Secretary McMahon, I know you know, kids are out of school this weekend. It's Labor Day. And Secretary Duffy, you know, our highways are going to be packed with travelers coming to not only our nation's capital, but all over this country. We're also going to have boaters, Secretary Duffy, right, on our waterways. It is illegal to be under the influence and on a boat. So get a designated boater if you're out on our waterways, whether it's the Potomac or the Gulf of America or the Pacific. Wherever you're out this weekend, people need to be safe. And on an international level, Secretary Rubio, thank you for all your help on everything we're doing, and everyone around this room. But yesterday, there was a big, big win. El Mayo pled guilty, and he was the co-founder of Sinaloa cartel with El Chapo. And there's even a Narcos Netflix series about these guys. Well, now we know the ending. He's going to die in an American prison. They are one of the worst, El Chapo and El Mayo, some of the worst narco traffickers in our world. And he will spend life in prison now. And that's so important because those guys and others throughout this country, throughout this world, have brought into our country drugs, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamines that's killing our kids. And we have to stop that. And that's what you've been doing not only in D.C., but around the country at your leadership. And over the weekend, parents need to know, with kids out of school, with people out on our highways and on our waters, do not take a pill from anyone you know, don't know. Do not buy anything on the street. It could be laced with something toxic. We've seen so many fentanyl overdoses. And when you were here in D.C., we showed you pictures of some of the drugs that had been seized right here in D.C. President, they were packaged for children. Packaged for children. And people are dying from these around our country. So thank you, President Trump, for your leadership and for letting Americans know that it's now a safe place to go. But parents also have to know, college kids have to know, to be vigilant and not take this trash. Because you could be thinking you're taking a Xanax, an Adderall, anything,
and it could be laced with something very lethal. So thank you, President.
You know, this cabinet meeting lasted over 3 hours. And we're trying to give you the best that we can from the meeting. I know we're 30 minutes into this report, and I think I want to just close it off with this President Trump message. We got a couple actually here, but they're short. This is President Trump discussing Labor Day, and the next one about the inauguration.
But I want to thank you all for being here as we prepare to celebrate Labor Day, when we honor the incredible hardworking men and women of our country, which is doing very well, I have to tell you. Every policy of the Trump administration is designed to lift up the American worker, promote great-paying blue-collar jobs, and to rebuild the industrial bedrock of our nation. It's also obviously for great defense. We have the greatest military in the world. But I want to thank you all for being
the greatest military.
New private jobs. Since the inauguration, we've created over 500,000 new private jobs. And if you notice, when the numbers come out, government jobs are going down and private jobs are coming up. And that's what really fuels the country. It's easy to hire people and pay them for doing something that maybe is not very productive. But government jobs are down, actually substantially down, and private jobs are way up. And these are the jobs that make money, create a better life. Meanwhile, we've reduced the number of federal bureaucrats by 84,000.
Wow.
So we got rid of 84,000. And I think the job numbers, you're going to see the new job numbers are going to be through the roof because of all of the different businesses that are moving into our country. And not just production businesses, autos and AI, but any business you can think of. Since you know,
folks, we are only 6 months into this presidency. Only 6 months into this presidency. I mean, you heard that list of wins. That's just a snapshot of a 3-hour marathon session. We got 3.5 years to go, baby. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So, this 3-hour marathon wasn't just about stamina. It was a declaration of war against business as usual. While Biden's handlers limited him to index cards and teleprompters, Trump opened the doors and let America watch real leadership in action. 500,000 private sector jobs created, 84,000 bureaucrats shown the door, historic trade deals forcing other nations to pay up, the largest middle-class tax cuts in history. A president ready to rename defense to war because we're done playing defense. So here's the real question for you. Should Trump have the power to fire Federal Reserve governors accused of crimes? Drop a yes or no in the comments, because the fight with Lisa Cook could be headed to the Supreme Court and could change everything. This is what draining the swamp looks like, folks. Real time, real results, real leadership. So check out our merch shop. It's linked down below, and show the world you're part of the revolution.